Hi everyone. There is one more type of question that I wanted to be able to go over in class. I just didn't quite have time for it on Thursday. So I'm going to do it right here. It follows on after, if you remember, one of the last kinds of questions we did was finding the mean when what they give you is a frequency distribution, right? You don't have the information anymore. You don't have all the data, individual data values. All you've got is the frequency distribution. And this question is going to do that. It's going to give us a frequency distribution. It's going to ask us for the mean, but it's going to go one step further and ask us for the standard deviation. All right. So there's no built-in formula when the information is given to us this way. Okay. So here's what I'm just going to work through this one. All right. So this one's also a little bit odd in terms of the way it gives us information, but they do give us the information to fill out the table. So let's read the question. The distribution of the tuitions, fees, and room and board charges of a random sample of public four-year degree-seeking secondary institutions is shown on the pie chart. Make a frequency distribution for the data. Then use the table to estimate the sample mean and the sample standard deviation of the data set. Use $26,249.50 as the midpoint for 25,000 or more. If you look at about 25,000 more, it's the last class. So they're telling us what to use as the midpoint. All right. So first we'll do this. We're going to fill out the frequency distribution. All right. So this is our F. Now, if you remember, when we get these frequency distributions, what we use for the X's is the midpoint. Right. So let's just put in the thing they just gave us. They said for the last class to use 26,249.50. So 26,249.50. Okay. All right. So now for the others, what we're going to do each time, right, we're going to use the midpoint. So the midpoint of 15,000 and 17,449, we just take the average, right? So equals 17,499 plus 15,000 divided by 2. All right. Now then, if you notice, we could do the same thing for each. Right, we could do the 17,500, but you'll notice what the distance from the lower class limit 17,500 is $2,500. Right? You remember, so once we find the one above, we can just add 2,500 to add the class width. Whoops. Right? Add the class width. Let's try that again. Add the class width to the one above. There we go. Plus 2,500. All right. Just do that till we finish it. Do it again. And one more time. Now, these are all supposed to be to the penny, so I'm just going to show the decimal a little bit more there. All right. As we put the comma in. Okay, like that. They all are the same format. Now, the frequencies, all right, they actually give us right here up next to the pie chart. See, they list them next to each class. So we're just going to type those in down here. 9, 8, 16, 13, and 5. Okay? And we're going to need to know the total frequency to do this, so I'll go ahead and figure that out now. All right. Now, so remembering in this, when we get these frequency distributions, the F's are our weights, right? They're our W's, if you will. Okay? So the next thing we need to do I mean, the symbol we used before, we would have just called it W instead of weight, right? So we need our X times our W's. So go through and do that. All right, and drop these down, drag them down to get them all done. All right, there's our X times our W's. Then we also need the sum of those. Okay, and if you remember then, our weighted average, which is what they're asking us for here, looks like, right? Well, the formula for it anyway, using the symbol they use in the book, right? Our weighted average is the sum of the X's times the W's over the sum of the W's, and W's the weights, right? So, in other words, there's the sum of, right, there's the X's times the W's divided by sum of the weights, which in this case was the frequencies, all right? So there is our mean, right? There's the mean. Remember, it's an estimate. That's step one. All right, then the next thing we need to do for each class, we need to take the X, right, the midpoint, minus the mean, and square it, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. We'll go equals open parenthesis, midpoint minus, probably the easiest way is just to type the mean now, which was 21,102.44. All right, and then square it. The caret symbol, the capital 6 means exponent, and then you put in a 2. All right, so I've got the C27 was the reference, minus, I typed in the value of the mean, 21,102.44, close parenthesis, and I squared it. We'll just widen that out a little bit so we can see it. All right. And then since we've got our formula all set, we'll just drag it down so we get that same thing for all of them, right? So each one of these is the X, right? So like this one, if I click on it, you see it's the X minus that number, which I typed in for the mean, and then I squared it. Okay. Now, the next step then is I need to add all those up. So we'll do that. Okay. Now, to get the variance is the next step. We are almost done with this question. They say, this is a sample right at the top, the distribution of tuition fees and room and board charges of a sample. So remember, when we do a sample, we're looking for the standard deviation and the variance of both. We divide by n minus 1, right? So we'll take equals, right, our sum there. We divide it by, our total count was 51, so 51 minus 1 is 50. Right? There's my variance. And then I'm just going to abbreviate it. Maybe we just call it SD. SD, one standard deviation, right? And it's the square root of the variance. So equals, oops, I'm sorry. Let's do this. The command for square root in Excel is SQRT, so equals SQRT. Open parenthesis, click on the variance. There it is. All right, I mean, if you want to put a comma in there or something. Okay, 1,119. That's it, and that is how you answer this kind of question.